If iOS 26 has been driving you crazy with how slow and buggy it is, well, Apple has heard you, because iOS 27 is rumored to be a major cleanup update. So it's not just about new features this time. Aside from this, we've also had some big Tesla CarPlay news, also another Siri delay, and some hidden iOS 26.4 beta features, plus an Apple event announcement that has me very excited. So get that popcorn ready, and here are 8 latest Apple news. But before we talk about more Apple news, check out Tranquil Terrain by Chatham, our latest wallpapers pack. Each design is super minimalist and clean to make any device shine, whether that's your phone, tablet, or desktop. And if you're looking for a more abstract premium design that makes any device look pro, then check out Chromatic Capsules by Artifacts, one of my favorite packs ever. You can find both packs and so much more in wallpapers for iOS and Android by using the links below. Okay, so number 1, according to Mark Gurman's latest newsletter, iOS 27 will be all about speed. This update will have 2 main priorities. First, it will integrate AI into the software with a brand new chatbot-style Siri, or what many are calling Siri 2.0, and the second is to improve the user experience by cleaning up everything under the hood, which has apparently become quite messy over the years. So iOS 27 is rumored to focus on cleanup and optimization, similar to what Apple did with Snow Leopard back in 2009. For those of you not old enough to remember, Snow Leopard was a macOS release that introduced almost no new features on the surface, but completely overhauled the internals. It was one of the most beloved Apple updates that they've ever shipped. And now Apple is said to be planning on rewriting some parts of the system and also making some small app improvements to boost the speed and responsiveness of the whole OS. They're also rumored to be doing some minor interface tweaks as well, but nothing as dramatic as last year's Liquid Glass redesign. On top of this, engineers are also said to be working on efficiency changes that could improve the battery life dramatically. So we could see a notable battery life gain, especially on older iPhones. And I do think that this is very much needed right now, because with each software release, I feel like iPhones have really lost their charm. More and more features keep being added, and they keep becoming less responsive and less reliable. Like, I've had so many freezes, so many reboots on my old iPhone 16 Pro Max running iOS 18, and now with iOS 26, I feel like things are maybe a bit better, but still not great. Yeah, I do miss the old days of, the iPhone 4 era or 5 era where everything was basically flawless. Yeah, I miss those days. Now, speaking of software releases, you know how the big Siri 2.0 was split into 2 large releases, the iOS 26.4 release and then iOS 27? Well, some of the features that were planned for iOS 26.4 are now being pushed to iOS 26.5, according to Mark Gurman. In other words, Siri 2.0 has been delayed again. And since iOS 26.5 is expected around June, that puts us exactly 2 years after the initial announcement of these updates at WWDC 2024. 2 full years of waiting for features that were supposed to be the headline of Apple Intelligence. That's just crazy to me. We've actually made a dedicated video on the state of Apple Intelligence, so you can check it out right here. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that I was expecting a lot more from Apple at this point. And speaking of iOS 26.4, the beta has actually just dropped for developers and public testers, and there are actually some really interesting features buried in here. First off, stolen device protection is now enabled by default. Previously, you had to go into the settings and turn it on manually, and let's be honest, most people didn't even know that existed. But now, it's on by default, so when you're away from a trusted location like your home or your office, your iPhone will automatically require biometric authentication for sensitive actions, with a time delay for a second biometric check on things like changing your Apple ID password. I feel like that's about time. They should have done this from day one. Aside from this, they've also added encrypted RCS messaging support in this beta. Right now, it's limited to iPhone for testing purposes, but this is a significant step towards making cross-platform messaging way more secure. Aside from this, the Health app is getting some love too. There's a new average bedtime metric in the sleep section, which gives you better insight into how your bedtime habits can affect your sleep quality. And for users in the US, blood oxygen data is now back in the Vitals view after previously being tucked away as a separate metric. Then Apple Podcast is getting upgraded with advanced video podcast capabilities, which actually makes it easier to switch between video and audio playback. It's built on Apple's HLS technology, so quality actually adjusts automatically based on your network conditions. And I think my favorite is that there's now a new set charge limit shortcut action, which lets you automate your battery charge limit, which I think is great for those of you trying to preserve your long-term battery health. And in the App Store, the search bar has now moved back to the top of the search tab. Thank you, Apple. That floating circle was just, I wasn't a fan of that. And speaking of delays, in the same newsletter, Mark Gurman also reported that the CarPlay integration in Teslas has also hit a roadblock. According to him, Tesla ran into some compatibility issues between Apple Maps and their own in-house mapping system that's used for full self-driving. Specifically, the turn-by-turn directions from Tesla's navigation didn't always stay in sync with Apple Maps, which could lead to some seriously confusing situations if both systems were active at the same time. And as a result, Tesla has reportedly asked Apple to make some engineering adjustments, and Apple apparently agreed. But the rollout is further delayed by the fact that iOS 26 adoption only sits at around 74% of devices manufactured in the past 4 years. What else? Well, Google has finally released an official YouTube app for the Apple Vision Pro, 2 full years after the Vision Pro's launch. Yeah, if you didn't know, there was no official YouTube app on the Vision Pro, so you actually had to use the browser or a third-party app, which was very embarrassing for a $3,500 device. However, what's even more frustrating now is that according to some early reviews, this app is essentially a minimal viable product. Yes, you can watch some 180-degree VR and 360-degree 3D videos, and there is even 8K support if you have the latest M5 Vision Pro, but that's about it. There are no custom environments, no spatial features, nothing to really take advantage of the fact that you are wearing the Vision Pro and not watching this from an iPad. So yeah, this to me looks like it could have easily been the iPadOS app instead of the Vision OS app, because it doesn't seem like there has been any extra effort put into this. Which makes it even stranger to me that Google has not just released that app at the same time as the Vision Pro's launch 2 years ago. On a more positive note, here's something that could generally be a game changer. You know those privacy screen protectors that stop people next to you from seeing your screen? Well, the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra is rumored to have that feature built directly into the screen. And what's even more impressive is that this is said to be selective, so you could only enable it for certain parts of the screen, like the notification area at the top, or only when using specific apps like your banking app. And according to ZONEofTECH and market research firm Omdia, Samsung's privacy display tech could also be coming to the MacBooks by 2029. And honestly, that's very exciting to me, because you see, privacy displays on phones are great, but on laptops, I actually bought a separate privacy screen protector for my MacBook Air when traveling, but the problem is, it really affects the image quality and the brightness, so I often just take that off because of it. Also on laptops, you're likely going to be doing some, color work, so you need the display to be as color accurate and as clear as possible. So if this tech is implemented on a pixel level, then you can toggle it on and off, and you're also going to get that ultimate privacy for when you do need it. Now, here's one Apple news that may disappoint you. The rumored iPhone 18 Pro launching in September could be, according to Mark Gurman, very boring. He mentioned that Apple won't be making this a big update and will probably feel more like an S update. While we could still see features like a variable aperture camera, the C2 modem, and of course faster A20 chips, the real star of the show won't be the iPhone 18 Pro or 18 Pro Max, because that would be the new iPhone Fold, which I'm personally very excited to see. And finally, what about this spring? Well, Apple has just announced a special event for the 4th of March. They've invited select members of the media to travel to 3 cities around the globe: New York, Shanghai, and London. Unfortunately, I've not been invited, so I would not be seeing any of you there, but I will be covering the news, so stay tuned to the channel to see all the products, well, as soon as we have them here in the studio. Based on the invite, we can see some unique colors here: light yellow, green, and blue, which could actually be the same colors as the budget A18 Pro MacBook, according to Mark Gurman. That could be one of the most exciting Mac launches in years. So yeah, like I said, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we'll be covering that as soon as it's announced and also as soon as it's launched. In fact, we're actually working on a video covering every single detail, old and new, about this new base MacBook. So if you're interested in that, then do subscribe to the channel to see that as soon as it's out. And until then, check out our app wallpapers for some stunning designs for your MacBook, iPad, and iPhone. I'm Daniel, this is ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.